Hey guys, I'm Dougal Fraser, and let's talk about manifesting. Now, admittedly, I like to start with the sugar, or the fun part. And that part to me is what I like to call the vision phase. Now, have you ever been in a mall or at an airport and you see a kid, usually between the ages of like 5 and 7, and they're either wearing a cape or like a princess costume, and they're so deep in their imagination and they're just running around. They don't care what anybody thinks, but to the core of their being, they believe that they can fly, they can have tea parties with kings and queens, and they just think that they can soar in life. Well, every human being, including you and myself, has had that moment in their life where you were fearless, where you could accomplish anything. Unfortunately, as we get older, fear starts to present itself. We start to think about what other people think of us. We start to make decisions on, is this the right job to take? Is this the right person to be with? Are these the right friends to be with? And as we get older and older and older, we get farther away from that deep, innocent voice that's filled with pure joy, that just believes that it can accomplish anything. Well, in the vision phase, we gotta wake that voice back up. We have to find that part of us again, because it's in there. It's never gone away. It's just the voice of fear has become a little bit louder and more dominant. Now, what's fascinating to me with manifesting is when I'm working with clients, we start with the vision phase. And I ask them, what do you want to achieve? What does it look like? Oftentimes people have an emotion or a feeling behind it, but before they can even zero in on something specific, they start presenting fear without even knowing it. And don't get me wrong, we all do it. I do it as well. Take this video series, for example. My brain had 9,000 thoughts as to why this wouldn't work. Why are you wearing that shirt? What if people don't watch it? What if you don't get enough views? What if people don't care? What if you're just repeating yourself? What if, what if, what if? Now that's the quiet part of my brain, well, although admittedly the loud part of my brain, trying to protect me, trying to hold me back from feeling vulnerability or really committing to a vision. And the curious part is that voice is quite seductive. It's easy to engage in that. You know, fear is quite literal. You feel it in your body. You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it in your lungs. You can feel it in your chest. Am I just talking about my own experience, or can you relate to me? But you can feel it. It's real. It's tangible. And we become used to operating out of fear. So one of the things that we have to do is remove fear for just a moment, or to ask it to take a back seat so that we can engage in the vision process. The vision process is fun. You get to daydream. You get to be everything that you want to be. You know, we've all had that moment where you leave a meeting or a dinner party and you think about what you could have said and you replay the conversation over and over and over again in your head. And in the stillness of your mind, or in the stillness of my mind, I'm like sort of a rock star. Like, I nail it every time. I don't trip. I don't make a mistake. It's like we can do anything that we want. The question is, how do we bridge that vision, that part of us that we know exists somewhere within our consciousness, and bring it to reality? And in my opinion, you have to start with giving yourself permission to daydream. Another great example I like to use is lottery tickets. Now, my husband loves to buy a lottery ticket. He loves it. And I don't know if we're ever going to win. I'm open to it. Just so we're clear, I'm fully open to it. But what's interesting to me is the conversations that come up after the purchase. We buy the ticket. We usually take the dog for a walk. And then the first thing we say is, how would you live differently? Now, what does that mean here? If someone wins the lottery, you're removing an element from your life. Most human beings make decisions based on money, their career, their job, their bills at the end of the month. So if you have a large windfall of money, those thoughts, questions, concerns, fears really are removed from your life. So then you ask yourself, you visualize, how would I live differently? If this wasn't a part of my consciousness, if this wasn't something that I had to manage on a regular basis, how would life look differently? That is the vision phase. You remove the fear, you remove the concern, you remove the obligation, whatever it is in your life, and you just daydream for a minute. The only way that we can gain clarity is by daydreaming, is by visualizing. And there are so many different ways you can do this. Now, as a clairvoyant, I'm a naturally visual person. So I do like to make actual vision boards. You can cut out images or words, you can put them up there, things that really inspire you. So if it's about your career, what kind of a career do you want? What kind of people are you surrounded by? Make it really visual, make it really fun. Engage in that part of your consciousness that wants to daydream. If it's about your physical health, what kind of foods are you eating? How are you living differently? What will you do? Put an example on the board. You know, years ago, I used to live in New York City, and David and I decided to move from New York to Los Angeles, and instead of creating a vision board, we created like a dream journal. And we put a picture of ourselves on the cover, and then we put California and Los Angeles, and we cut out images of homes, and we put a little dog on there because we wanted a dog. I'm happy to say we manifested that dog. But everything that we were looking for. Now, I'm still working on the pool. We did put a pool in that notebook now that I'm thinking about it, and we don't have a pool yet, but we're gonna get there. But what's interesting is when I start thinking of pool or whatever it is that I'm trying to manifest, fear comes up. There's maintenance, there's this, there's that. Where are we gonna dig that pool? And that's the brain getting in the way. First part, claim your vision. Have fun with it. Think like an inner child, someone who puts a cape on and runs around the backyard thinking at any moment they are going to take off, and make it visual. Whether it's a dream board or a notebook, put images that remind your consciousness, that remind your heart, that remind your soul what it is that you're trying to create. Now, your brain will play tricks on you. And it may say things like, that's all I have to start with is visualizing. Well, you know, I got to go to the grocery store and I've got to pick the kids up and I've got to make lunch for everyone, or I've got to get to work, and who has time for daydreaming? You can do it when you drive to work. You can do it in the shower. That's my favorite time to daydream. You can spend 30 seconds a day just thinking about what it is that you want to create in your life. But when you carve out time to claim your vision, when you become specific in your vision, the universe and the world becomes clear in your vision, and they repeat it back to you. The first process is by asking the mind to be still. You can do whatever you want, breathing techniques, listening to music, whatever you need to still your mind, but start visualizing the life that you want to live. Now, the reason I ask you to make it physical is because we need visual reminders. You can put it on your fridge, you can have a notebook like David and I did. Every time we talked about the move, if we felt fearful, we'd flip through the notebook and say, remember, this is the kind of house that we want, this is the kind of area that we want to live in. And I have like a crazy, maybe this is too early to share this story, but I have to share this. We had actually clipped out an ad, I think it was from Craigslist at the time, we were looking at our budget of what we could afford for a home, right? And we clipped out an ad of a house. This was like 4 months before we moved there. And I thought there's no way this place is going to be available when we get there, but at least I'll know visually, remember, visually, this is the kind of house that we would probably get. Put it in the notebook, loved it, put the dog next to it, all that stuff. Crazy story, and we'll get to this in other videos. We ended up moving into that house. We got to Los Angeles. We called the owners. I said, is this still available? They said it was still available. The owner would walk around the house cleaning, thinking that this was a perfect place for people moving from New York to California. That's crazy. Like, I mean, that almost sounds magical. But this is what happens. You claim the vision. This is the kind of house that I'd like to be in. I put it in the notebook. I wasn't attached to it. I was just daydreaming. It was just fun. I thought, okay, it's probably not going to be available, but at least I have a visual reference of what I'm trying to create. Do you see why that's important? Because you keep sending the intention to the energy. You see the picture over and over and over again. So if you want to be an author, cut out pictures of books. If you want to be a different size in your body, cut out healthy images that make you feel inspired. If you want to be out of debt, take an image of your credit card statement and say paid in full. Put it in the notebook, put it on the board, claim your vision. Now, it's normal in the beginning for your brain to think this doesn't feel real. Quiet brain. Not important. You can express it, you can feel it, you can see those fearful thoughts sort of wander through your consciousness. That's fine. But at this point, you are giving yourself permission to daydream and to claim your vision. So have fun with it. This is not homework. This is not an assignment. This is a part where you really get to explore your consciousness, you get to engage in your imagination, and you get to dream a bigger dream. Have fun with it, and once you've claimed your vision, we can move on to the next step.